Ashcroft wasn't unique. Its rise and fall would become a pattern repeated across the American West. Again and again, a single discovery could transform an empty valley into a thriving city almost overnight. And just as quickly, that city could disappear. But while Ashcroft's story was one of silver, our next destination was built on something even more valuable. Gold, not just a few scattered nuggets found in a stream, but one of the richest gold discoveries in California after the Great Gold Rush of 1849. Its name was Bodie. Today, it stands as one of the best-preserved ghost towns in America. Weathered wooden buildings line empty streets. Dust-covered furniture still rests inside abandoned homes. General stores remain stocked with rusted cans and broken bottles. School desks wait for children who never returned. Walking through Bodie feels less like visiting history, and more like stepping into a moment that somehow never ended. Yet nearly 150 years ago, this lonely stretch of the eastern Sierra Nevada looked nothing like the quiet town visitors see today. It was loud, chaotic, dangerous, and incredibly rich. The story of Bodie begins with a man named William S. Bodie. Like thousands of other prospectors in the mid-1800s, Bodie came west chasing the dream that had already transformed California. The gold rush had officially begun in 1848, when flakes of gold were discovered at Sutter's Mill. The news spread across the globe. Within just a few years, more than 300,000 people poured into California. Some crossed deserts. Others sailed around Cape Horn. Many risked everything they owned simply for the chance to strike it rich. Most failed, but the possibility of discovering the next great gold deposit never disappeared. By the late 1850s, prospectors were still searching remote mountain ranges that had barely been explored. One of those prospectors was William Bodie. In 1859, while exploring the rugged hills east of the Sierra Nevada mountains, Bodie and a small group of miners discovered promising deposits of gold-bearing quartz. The discovery appeared significant, but before he could truly benefit from it, tragedy struck. During a severe snowstorm later that year, William Bodie lost his life while attempting to return with supplies. He was only a short distance from camp. His body was found frozen beneath deep snow. Ironically, the town that would later bear his name would make millions. Yet the man who inspired it never lived to see any of its success. Originally, the settlement was called Bodie. Over time, due to a spelling mistake on an official sign painted by a local artisan, the name gradually evolved into Bodie. The new spelling remained, and soon, everyone knew the growing mining camp by that name. For nearly 2 decades after the original discovery, Bodie remained little more than a small mining camp. The gold was there, but extracting it efficiently proved difficult. Mining equipment was primitive. Transportation into the mountains was slow and expensive. Harsh winters isolated the settlement for months at a time. Most miners came, worked for a season, and left disappointed. It seemed possible that Bodie would become just another forgotten prospecting camp. Then everything changed. In 1876, the Standard Company struck an incredibly rich vein of gold. This wasn't another modest discovery. The ore was exceptionally valuable. Almost immediately, word spread throughout California and beyond. Newspapers printed sensational headlines. Mining investors rushed to purchase claims. Speculators flooded the region. Within months, thousands of fortune seekers were making the difficult journey into the mountains. What had been a sleepy settlement suddenly exploded into one of the fastest-growing towns in the American West. New buildings appeared almost daily. Construction crews barely had time to finish one structure before another was started. Carpenters worked from sunrise until long after sunset. Lumber wagons arrived continuously. Blacksmiths forged tools around the clock. Merchants quickly realized that mining wasn't the only way to make money. Selling food, Equipment, clothing, and whiskey often proved even more profitable than digging for gold. By 1879, less than 3 years after the major discovery, Bodie had transformed into a booming city of nearly 10,000 residents. Its skyline filled with church steeples, hotel roofs, smokestacks, and towering mining headframes. Smoke drifted from hundreds of chimneys. Horse-drawn wagons crowded muddy streets. The constant pounding of stamp mills echoed across the valley day and night. Visitors arriving for the first time often described Bodie as astonishing. Here, at nearly 8,400 feet above sea level, a modern city had emerged in one of California's harshest environments. There were dozens of hotels, numerous boarding houses, several banks, a Chinatown, a volunteer fire department, schools, churches, newspapers, dance halls, restaurants, barber shops, livery stables, and more than 60 saloons. Some historians believe there was roughly one saloon for every 150 residents. Alcohol flowed freely. Poker games lasted until dawn. Fortunes changed hands in a single evening. Music spilled into the streets. So did violence. As Bodie grew richer, its reputation became increasingly notorious. The town attracted ambitious entrepreneurs, honest workers, and skilled miners, but it also attracted gamblers, con artists, professional thieves, outlaws, and men fleeing their past. Violence was common enough that newspapers throughout California began referring to Bodie as one of the roughest towns in the state. One popular saying claimed, "Goodbye, God, I'm going to Bodie." Whether those exact words were ever truly spoken remains uncertain. But the phrase captured Bodie's growing reputation perfectly. Gunfights weren't everyday occurrences, but they happened often enough to make headlines. Robberies were frequent. Drunken arguments sometimes ended in deadly shootings. Stagecoaches carrying payrolls became tempting targets for bandits hiding in the surrounding hills. Law enforcement struggled to keep pace with the town's explosive growth. Deputies often found themselves outnumbered. Jails filled quickly. Yet despite the dangers, people kept arriving. Because underneath the mountains, gold continued to pour from the mines. And where there was gold, there was always another dreamer convinced the next fortune would belong to them. Smoke rising into the cold mountain air. But beneath Bodie's incredible prosperity, warning signs were already beginning to appear. The wealth that built the town came at an enormous human cost. And before long, fire, freezing winters, and the unpredictable nature of gold mining itself would begin to test whether Bodie was destined to become a permanent city, or just another ghost town of the American West.